In one of the most prestigious kingdoms of Greece, a boy was born, the son of the king with his young and beautiful queen. However, the birth of the heir to the royal house was not something auspicious at all. In his visit to Apollo's temple, the king was told a prophecy in which the birth of his son would be the cause of his death and the ruin of his entire family. The king, convinced that something had to be done, persuaded the queen that, for the good of all, the child's life would have to meet its end. The baby is delivered to a servant of the king, who would have to take the infant to Mount Cithaeron. The boy had his feet pierced and a rope passed through them. The boy had to be hung on a tree by his feet, allowing the beasts to do whatever they wanted with him. However, the servant could not leave the poor child in that place and handed him to an unknown shepherd who was passing by with his cattle. The shepherd untied the child's feet and treated his wounds. He baptized the baby as Oedipus, which meant the one with swollen feet. The shepherd, in turn, was extremely poor, and since he did not have conditions to raise the child, decided he took him to the king of Corinth. Polybus and his wife had no children, and therefore decided to adopt Oedipus as their own son. Oedipus grew, and he was beautiful, strong, and deeply astute, and he lived happily as the crown prince of Corinth. However, during a celebration, one of the noblemen insulted Oedipus, saying that he was not worthy to be the heir to the throne of Corinth, since he was a foreigner. Oedipus questioned King Polybus, wanting to know the truth, but the latter told him not to mind the words of a drunk. Oedipus, unhappy with the king's response, decided to find the truth in the Oracle of Delphi. Despite the insistence, the oracle refused to answer his questions, but prophesied a terrible future for the young boy.
You shall kill your own father, marry your mother, and leave a shameful descent.
Oedipus was dismayed by such a dreadful prophecy and decided to leave Corinth to avoid killing his beloved father and taking his mother as a wife. The young man, disheartened, wandered through the roads of Greece until, at a crossroads, he met a gentleman in a wagon, accompanied by his servants. The road was narrow, and one of the servants threw Oedipus off the road to allow the passage of his lord's cart. The young prince, outraged, hit the servant with his cane. The lord and his servants grabbed their weapons and advanced against Oedipus. Oedipus was surrounded by aggressors, but his strength, agility, and youth allowed the youngster to defeat all his opponents. The lord and his servants were dead. Only one of the servants managed to escape. Oedipus, victorious, felt a strong sense of power after winning a battle against several opponents. The prince of Corinth continued to wander through Greece when he was faced with the news that a terrible monster was terrorizing the region of the kingdom of Thebes. Oedipus, feeling empowered after his recent victory, went to Thebes to confront the fearsome Sphinx and add his name to the pantheon of heroes. Oedipus, prince of Corinth, had abandoned his kingdom after hearing from the Oracle of Delphi the prophecy in which he would be responsible for the death of his father, while also marrying his mother. In the name of the love for his parents, he left Corinth and began to wander aimlessly through Greece. In his wanderings, Oedipus heard rumors that a monster was devastating the city of Thebes. The creature was known by the name of Sphinx. It was a winged monster, a mixture of a woman with a lion. The vile creature stood on a rock near the city entrance, and all those who approached her heard the following sentence uttered by the Sphinx:
"Decipher me, or I'll devour you."
And immediately after that, the creature presented a riddle to those who dared to approach her. All those who tried to decipher the enigma failed and were devoured. Creon provisionally reigned over Thebes, which was mourning the death of King Laius. After losing his firstborn to the Sphinx, Creon decreed that he would grant the hand of his sister Jocasta in marriage, queen and the widow of Laius, to the one capable of defeating the Sphinx, and this hero would become king of Thebes. Oedipus decided to accept this challenge because he did not fear death, and if he ended up dying, at least he would know that his parents would be safe from his terrible prophecy. Oedipus met the Sphinx and heard the well-known sentence,
Decipher me or I'll devour you. In the morning, I have 4 legs. At noon, 2. And when the twilight comes, I have 3. Among all creatures, it is the only that can change its number of legs, but the greater the number, the lower its speed and strength.
Oedipus stared at the Sphinx, which was already licking her lips, waiting for yet another meal. And so the boy uttered his reply. The answer is the human being. At the dawn of his life, he crawls on his arms and legs. In the middle of his life, he walks on his 2 legs. At the end of his life, he has to rely on a cane. The enigma's resolution covered the Sphinx with an unbearable shame, and she ended up throwing herself from the top of a cliff. The Sphinx was dead, and Thebes was safe again. Creon, as promised, gave the hand of his sister Jocasta to the hero, and he married her. Oedipus was now the king of Thebes. His wife, despite having a certain age, was still very beautiful and fertile. And with her, Oedipus had several children, and they lived very happily. But black clouds began to cover the city of Thebes, a premonition that something terrible was about to happen.